Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I, I hope it is a fresh morning, doesn't sound from the response. So, obviously, the onus is on us to make the session even more encouraging and exciting. Uh, we've got a fantastic topic, very current, very relevant, and very contemporary. Reimagining customer engagement and customer experience. A few facts to bring this alive. In 2020, a survey which was done in the US said a third of the customers shifted brands. The same survey done in 2022 said 50% of customers switched brands in the 2 years or within 2 years. That had jumped from 30 to 50. More importantly, and probably worryingly for all of us in this room, 90% of people said they intended to keep switching brands. That just emphasizes how important it is to be able to build engagement with your customer, create experiences which brings customers back to us. And that's just one aspect of it. I mean, you look around today, and earlier it was almost a given that customers would walk into a store, spend time browsing around, and eventually make their purchases. If it's a mall, they would go into a few stores and then make their purchase. Gone are those days. Today, the journey starts on the screen more often than not. They are influenced by influencers, by social media, by friends on your WhatsApp, and a million other influences that come about, which makes it that much more challenging, at the same time, that much more opportunity for you to be able to engage with your customer. And it's about how you make that happen. So, to get some answers from that, we've got an extremely eminent panel out here, and I'll quickly jump in, and in no particular order, but I've got a few questions for each of them, and then we'll try and have some time towards the end for questions from the audience. Is that fine? So, Rahul, if I could start with you, and you've got brands, your brand, Latin Quarters, both as EBOs as well as shop-in-shops, and pretty much across the country. Uh, you also got a lot of competition, especially, I mean, it's always been there, but ever increasing. Would you be able to share something that you've done to break that clutter and to be able to reach your customer and engage with your customer?
Sure. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Like you rightly mentioned, yes, we do have a lot of competition. That I would say is advantage to you because you're always more hungry, you're always more driven. Fortunately for us, what I feel is that the category that we are in, women's fashion, women are very product loyal. I except luxury, women are not too brand loyal. So what I mean by that is a woman would maybe cross a mannequin or a store and see a dress. She wouldn't have heard of the brand, but she may want to go and have a look at it. Men are more brand loyal. Men would walk into a store, try on a shirt, buy 4 sizes and walk out. That's what helps us to compete in this market. As a brand, we have a lot of domestic competition and we have a lot of international competition as well. One of the reasons for our somewhat success is that we are able to curate products for different regions and for different consumers. So India is not one country, it's a combination of multiple countries. There's different culture, there's different holidays, different tastes, different preferences. And with data, we're able to curate products for each region. We know what works in South, what works in West, what works in North, what works in all the separate zones. And it just helps us to not only do cosmetic changes, but to use data in a way where we are engaging the customer to the product they actually want rather than what they are selling, which is an advantage we have over some of our international brands, is that they make a product for Europe, for the US market, and they ship it to India, whereas we make a product for each region, each city. So that kinds of helps us to understand the customer better, to engage with them better. Excuse me. Customer engagement, in my opinion, is not just about loyalty programs or CRMs or reaching out to the customer. It's actually understanding what they need, and rather than giving them what you make, I think it's important to understand what is their requirement and working around that and seeing how you can fulfill that. And that is something we've been kind of successful in being able to do, and we hopefully we can take that even to the next step. So data and technology has played a very important role in that. Just to understand the buying pattern of the customer, just to understand their preferences, and that has been a real help for us in this experience.
Excellent. And let's take it up from there. Data and technology. Amitabh, USPA, obviously one of the most loved, most omnipresent brand in the country. Uh, how have how has USPA leveraged data and analytics to engage better with your customers?
Thanks, Venu. Good morning, everyone. At US Polo, we are fortunate to have a very large distribution network across retail, department stores, multi-brand stores, and of course online. Uh, we've always been studying in retail. Everyone has always been studying patterns of sales. They've always been studying what cuts are working, what colors are working, what patterns are working, what fits are working. And that's been something done by shopkeepers, that's been done by large retail services. But what's interesting now is with the advent of data, at the advent, and we're very happy to announce that US Polo went live with their own .com last year. And it's been something of an out-of-box revelation for us. We've actually been able to do heat maps and see where is the consumer looking at us across the country. What is he looking for? We are able to now evaluate and see which product is he spending more time in or looking and browsing at it. Now that gives us data which we can act upon. Apart from making forecasts, which I think everybody in this room knows, forecasting is the oldest science in retail. But our forecasting are becoming more accurate. To give you an example, when we began shipping winter wear to our customers in the online space, especially for our .com, we had a lag of 5 days. And every time a customer saw a lag of 5 days, he began dropping off. Now, I don't think I would have intuitively figured out this is a problem statement. But the analytics came back to me saying that our biggest problem is the 4-day delivery window. So if you can ship it in 1 day, chances are your sales will go up. So we began making a expensive courier service to ensure that if a customer ordered a product, I would deliver in 24 hours. Sales shot up. Now, these are things as an example which gives me great belief that if we can actually start acting upon data thrown up to us, we can be more efficient managers, more efficient brand marketers. Something else we've been doing on data is trying to personalize communication to consumers. The old format, has he bought too many tops? Has he bought too much bottom? Can we cross-sell? Can we upsell? These things were always spoken of, but never used. Very happy to share with all of you in this room that it's really adding value to us. We are now able to target consumers personally, trying to show what they dropped off. I mean, it's intuitive. I'm sure others are doing it as well. But for us, an aha moment because we are hardcore brick and mortar retailers. Now, to get this data back to us on our own platform is quite gratifying. So that to me is two good examples for us to personalize and work around it.
Excellent. And we hear about importance of product as well as brand, talk of data, technology. If I could come to you, Sunil, and yours is a brand where the product and the product purchase is as much about the product as it is about an emotional buy, jewel and jewelry. What is Reliance Jewels doing to connect with the customer on that level?
Good morning, first of all. Am I audible? Yeah, you're right. As you said, ours is a category which involves a lot of emotions, at the time of purchase, while making the decision, the time of shopping, and thereafter also. This is a business which is runs with the trust, with the relationship. And to build that, I think the relationship starts at the time of billing. In fact, I would say when the customer comes and shops anything with us and goes to the billing counter, that is where we start building up the long-term relationship with the customer. What we do is that we pick up the date of birth and the marriage anniversary for our customers, of course, with their concurrence and agreement. What we do is that we pick up that because we know the jewelry is purchased at the time of the important events or important occasions in their life, be it marriage, be it marriage anniversary, be it Valentine's Day, be it birthday. So we pick up those two dates and we see that on the date of the birth date or the marriage anniversary, it's not that we send just the simple text message. We pick up the call and we wish the customer, the store staff picks up the phone call and they wish to the customer. And if I just give you one example as to how it works emotionally, and this is just a couple of days back, old story. As a normal phone call, one of our staff calls on the birthday of one of our customer, and somewhere the staff feels that the customer who picked up the call, whose birthday was there, she was not in the best of the mood. He shares this with the manager of the store. And what they do is that generally what we do is we wish the customer and we invite them to our store to celebrate the birthday. Looking at the customer's mood, the staff and two, three of his colleagues goes to the customer's house and as a give a pleasant surprise to them to wish her the birthday. And what they realize that somewhere, I mean, we need not go into detail, but somewhere she was not in the best of the mood. She was lonely on that day. And I don't need to elaborate further how it turned out to be our loyal customer. So this is just an example which I am giving you, and it works very well in our category at least.
Yeah, I think as much as AI and everything else that comes in, the physical connect, the human touch is something which continues to remain important. Fantastic. Thanks. Harshendar, if I could come to you, and yours is a very different business, and you may want to actually explain a little bit about what what Ghost Kitchens does.
Yeah,
But also, hold on a minute. If I could just ask you the question as well. Yours is unlike most of, or rather the rest of the panel. Everyone on this panel is really trying to communicate to the consumer, the customer directly. In your case, it's a lot about B2B. So how do you engage with your customer, and what is it that works for you?
Yeah, first of all, very interesting to be part of this panel because most of the businesses that are on the panel are brick and mortar first. For us, our operations happen in brick and mortar, but our business actually happens on a mobile. So we are a cloud kitchen business where we are a virtual dining concept where we give out our brands for restaurants, cloud kitchens, or anybody who wants to take a franchisee out of it and want to make most out of the real estate space that they have taken for rent. So in the end, if you take like that, we are similar in terms of all the other business also. Maximizing the revenue per square feet, that is what in the end, dumbing it down to what exactly we do. And when you are saying that can you come back the question again? Sorry.
You're talking to restaurant owners,
Yes,
really.
yes.
Compared to, so it's a much more individual one in terms of the conversation. But at the same time, you're reaching out to hundreds of them.
Yeah.
So, it's not a lakh and millions of people as all the others are trying to reach to. But at the same time, it's still a large number. So
yeah, really sorry to ask you again, but there are multiple channels for any business, irrespective of if it is B2C or B2B or B2B2C. In any kind of scenario, it is always you check multiple channels for you to reach out to your customers. It can be physical, digital, or any kinds of scenarios that are possible. But how do you assess a channel whether it is right for you or not? Is it there on only two factors? One is the customer acquisition cost and the lifetime value of a customer, be it a business or a consumer, whoever is your customer. So if at all, if your lifetime value of a customer is not justifying your customer acquisition cost, then it doesn't make sense as a channel. So that's how we also evaluate. Like that, we have tried multiple channels. Being in business from 4-5 years, we understood that there are few channels that work out really good for us and few don't. And for somebody who's reaching out to SMBs, who's a restaurant, for us, in our case, it is a restaurant, we understood that when the product is free, you can be purely digital. It doesn't matter. So you can be directly doing through Meta, Google Ads, and all the ad platforms that you can use. But when there is a price involved to it, where there is a customer has to pay something for it, then they demand a physical intervention as well. So we do a phygital model where we have our customer reaching out process through digitally, but in the end, then there is initial onboarding process or initial understanding the customer better. So we try to reach out to them in physical means as well. So like to summarize, we are significantly reaching out to our customers through digital mediums, whatever is possible, but not ignoring the physical prominence.
Okay, I'll come back to you later, but I would really be interested in knowing how you're using it's predominantly digital, and that's the nature of your business. That's how the business is evolved. But how does that physical part come in? And then on the flip side, AI is something which is obviously the absolute go-to tool for everyone. What do you see there, and how are you using that? But that's something which I just want to leave you with that thought, but do bring in the physical part. That's what I would like to.
When you mentioned how we do it physically, in the sense, so for example, the business owners, the SMB owners are somebody who, are more focused on the relationship that they, have with the business, whoever they are partnering with. So it just hi, hello, in the start of the business, understanding them better, to talk to them, to exactly understand what are the business needs. Everybody comes in with a different need. Though our business is similar, but the reason why they come to us is different for everybody. So that is what we try to understand physically, reaching out to them, meeting them personally, and trying to understand, so that we might have a vast offering. Then we can customize the offering, for them, and help them understand better that, this is how they can maximize their needs through us.
Sure. Madhur, if I could come to you, you're at the other end of the spectrum. You run a mall. Malls are where shopping has always been traditionally there and continues to be and continues to grow. For a lot of people in the room, as well as for pretty much everyone on this panel, except probably Harshendar, what they would be really keen to understand is, which areas of the mall do you see the maximum dwell time? Other than, of course, the food court, what are the areas that would create the most level of engagement for your customers when they get to the mall?
Thanks, Venu. A very good morning to everyone. A very interesting question. Tapadia City Center is located in Amravati, which is a Tier 3 city. So generally, what difference we see in a Tier 1 city and Tier 3 city is that generally people come together as a family for shopping and to spend some time. So when they come with a family, you have to have something for the kid, something for the woman, something for the elderly as well. So how you plan the center and are able to engage with all the age groups is very important. So you have to we have a game zone, and then at the same time, specifically in terms of women, you have to have a variety of segments which they would prefer. And being a center in a Tier 3 city, we see a lot of ethnic wear which works out well for the women. So essentially, the brand mix is very important. If you have that available with you as a center, and there is something for each of them, that is something which brings a lot of, they spend a certain more time. Another thing which we've seen is also that the calendar is full of festivals, and festivals is all about celebration. How you can actually bring them and celebrate together is very important. We've planned our events, calendars, something in a similar way. So I'll give you an example. Recently, we've seen Ayodhya Ram Mandir being launched. And at TCC, we actually built a Ram Darbar. And we saw that people came in to do the aartis there to celebrate that occasion. So that was something which was very different, and they did not come for shopping, but they came to see the setup, they came to see how it was looking, to be part, because not everybody could go to Ayodhya, remember. So how you can bring them together so that you engage with them and keep them, engaged is very important. One more thing I would like to add is, uh, uh, now we've seen families getting smaller. So essentially, when there were larger families, used to have melas and everything around in the cities at a larger grounds. But now, as parents, we see that the affluent ones don't even let their children go and spend time there where they love to spend time. So what we did is we ourselves created in our plaza area an outdoor gaming area, which actually like a trampoline or a kids ride, a small boating area. So this is the things which actually the kids get their parents again and again to come, and so that they can also enjoy, and at the same time the parents can then go out for a movie or something like that. One thing I'd like to lastly add is that if you know like I spoke about the kids, the other women, for the younger generation, the culture of clubbing or lounging was actually not present in the city. Now, to bring that culture is a very different thought, because these people used to go out to Nagpur or Bombay, Pune, and do their parties there. So what we did is we bought couple of bars, restaurants which are branded like Agent Jack's Bar at TCC, so that they don't have to go for their regular clubbing opportunities outside the city, and they could actually do a pub hopping at the same mall, which gives them a different flavor every time.
So I guess it's about fulfilling aspirations and giving reasons for people to come to the mall, and that's what you're finding success in. Sanjay, if I could come to you, and Spykar, again, a brand spread across the country, across tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. Do you see a difference in the expectations of customers across the different tiers? Rahul talked about product marketing and taking it at a city level. Is that, I assume that's something you do, or is that something which you find not as necessary because the experiences or the expectation of the customer is slightly different?
So, Venu, I feel this is very different for different segments of society, at the same time products. If I talk about Spykar, we are a very sharply positioned product, one from an age group perspective, and secondly, also we are speaking to a very experiential audience in that sense, because we do a lot of fashion in the denim space. So that eventually kind of allows us to be a much more sharper positioned and brand in that sense, because we talk to a much more niche audience. Having said that, I feel media, as we all know, has been a great equalizer, especially the social media, and the spread of social media and the acceptance of social media has been so large and so welcoming that the awareness of audiences with respect to what's in and what's not in is pretty much out there in equal terms for everyone. And having said that, I think there are some geographical and some cultural nuances which probably make consumers expect something different, or probably expect something different at different times. And to that extent, we have to modify our offerings. But if I have to put it in a very simplistic manner, no, I feel that customers expect the same products which I'm making, or the same trends that I'm making for, say, a city like Mumbai or Delhi, to be available to them in Amravati as well, and a smaller town as well. And also, basically, I feel that every brand has its own DNA, and to the extent possible, you need to stay honest to what you actually mean as far as the brand is concerned across the length and the breadth of the audiences. And yeah, so this is what my feeling is. Besides these nuances of cultural differences and geographical compulsions, there isn't really much that actually it's the other way around. Customers expect something similar.
But that's a very important point Sanjay brings out. Social media becoming an equalizer almost in terms of customer expectations, and at the same time, what and how they approach a brand. Uh, if I could come to you, Mayank, and I think, on this panel, you've got the oldest brand. Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, Mohanlal and Sons have been in existence from 1881.
Yeah, so it's a 142-year-old brand.
142
We're actually
year
India's
old
oldest
brand.
retailer.
I think just a round of applause. I certainly haven't come across many brands that have managed to thrive for as long as 142 years, and congratulations for that. So I would imagine, if I just try and visualize, you probably have customers whose grandfathers or probably even great grandfathers started shopping with you, and they've continued to shop with you across generations. Do you find that loyalty continuing to be there? And as a business, do you do anything different to continue that loyalty, the engagement, the whole bonding that you create with families?
So, since we are such an old brand, I'm sure everyone here has heard of the three-generation rule. The first generation earns, the second sustains, and the third, spends it all. So, yeah, so basically, I plan to pillage and plunder and spend everything now. So, no, but fortunately, actually, I'm the fourth generation. So we've evaded this curse of the three generation. In fact, Harvard Business Review actually says that only about 10% of the businesses survive beyond the third generation. So the reason we have been able to do that is, we've constantly been able to evolve our business models and change with the times. But one thing that we haven't changed, Venu, to your point, is the singular focus on delivering a superior customer experience. So everything that we do, even from the product design to marketing to all the policies that we have in the store, everything is driven keeping the customer in the center of things. So we haven't done this, but I've heard of instances of companies having a chair separate in their boardroom for the customer. So we don't have a board as such; it's a family-owned company, but we have the similar approach when it comes to things. So customer service and personalization in our business is something that has really helped us to connect with different generations. To Madhur's point about celebrations, so we are primarily into celebration wear. So it becomes very relevant for us. So we have two events throughout the year. One is a Holi Milan and one is a Diwali Milan. So these two are, some of the biggest events that are at least in our part of the country. So we call all the customers, all our loyal customers, to the stores. We have, traditional songs. We do tilak. We celebrate these occasions with the customers, and we encourage them to come to the stores. We give them small giveaways. And, this helps us to connect with, every generation. Where everyone connects, everyone is in a festive mood. They connect with this, and also the personalization aspect. So when the customers come in, they see the same faces again. They know what their needs are. So almost, what you have in an e-commerce world, we try to have that in our stores and try to reciprocate that as far as possible.
That's loyalty through engagement and bringing customers back, bringing that connect. Fantastic point. And loyalty obviously is one of the most used tools, loyalty programs. And Sunil, if I could come to you, Reliance across its multiple formats gets lakhs, if not millions of customers walking through their doors every day. And Reliance One is the loyalty program that Reliance has been using across all its formats. How effective is that program for you, and how has that program evolved to be able to get to know your customer better?
So first of all, as you rightly said, it is one program covering all the retail verticals. And we claim to be one of the largest and one of the most successful loyalty program in the country. How we leverage it is that, first of all, the category differs from a grocery to the jewelry to the apparel and so on and so forth, electronics. Each brand, each category is aligned to the loyalty program, and we act as a one team. And what we do is that, again, as we spoke on this forum, the analytics play a very big role for us. First of all, each brand gives the point based on certain parameters. The customer can earn and burn anywhere across different categories. We do share data in terms of customers, their background, how helpful, how useful, how apt is for a particular brand. We keep on evolving based on the experience what we get. It helps us when a brand goes in a newer city or a newer town when the other verticals are already present. So it, in short, in nutshell, it helps us a lot. It builds the loyalty for Reliance Retail as an entity, not only one brand.
Uh, and I think again, it's about how you are leveraging data, and I think that's something which the loyalty programs are all evolving to. Amitabh, if I could come to you, and you've got, I mean, over the years, your marketing has always been something which is quite well known, talked about, and looked forward to. How has it evolved to be able to both from a communication as well as channel perspective in terms of how you reach your customers?
Thanks. So marketing has been something very close to building the US Polo brand. It's a licensee business. It portrays a certain lifestyle which is very aspirational to the Indian consumer. What began was what I call the wallpaper phase. The wallpaper phase was where you saw good-looking, Caucasian-looking models wearing a certain kind of lifestyle, sporting a certain kind of lifestyle, which was aspirational to the Indian consumer. That, over a period of time, began to wane down. And then came the advent of the online space, and we are a largely distributed brand on the online space. The brands began focusing on what was called the performance marketing. So, unfortunately, both marketing is a word used, but I don't believe performance marketing is true-blood marketing. I'm an old, classic kind of a guy. I believe marketing to be slightly more emotional versus transactional. Over the last few years, especially after COVID and during COVID, a lot of brands have shifted and gravitated towards performance marketing. So they believe in trying to get more people to eyeball their product, more PLPs. They're trying to get more listings going. They're trying to get more loyalty base, add to cart, why they lose the cart. So a lot of energies of marketers were spent in trying to follow consumers. And the good news was we broke away the shackle last year. We went back to the drawing board and said, let's go back and see what really the brand stands for. And it was extremely heartening to figure out that US Polo is the only brand in the country which straddles both fashion and sport beautifully. There's no other brand. You can name all the popular brands in sportswear arena. You can name all the popular brands in the fashion arena. But no one can boast of a synthesis of fashion and sport. And that was one of our turning moments. We went back to a campaign called Legends. You understand, I'm not as old as Mohan and Sons, but we are a 110-year-old brand ourselves. We believed that we wanted to get the legends out for the US Polo. And that began the campaign for Legends Together Play Forever. We brought in Arjun and Milan, two superstars of the modeling arena way back in the early 90s. I was young then. And we had Leander and Hesh, who probably are the pride of every Indian who watches sport. Now we thought of how can we bring these four legends together in one frame and try and tell the world at large that this is a brand which straddles fashion and sport equally well. And that campaign was something which went out of the charts. It brought back the mojo, what I call in US Polo. Unfortunately, sales never reflect the success of a campaign in 6 months. The effect will come going forward. But to answer your question, Venu, I feel marketing has to go back to classic again. You cannot just depend on technology and trying to get more discounts going. You have to touch the consumer's heart. And the only way you can touch the consumer's heart by telling him a story. And that story must make him want to consume more of you. So that's my 2 piece on that.
Sanjay, taking on from where Amitabh left it, and obviously Spykar, again, is a brand which communicates aggressively. How has your communication altered over the time? And if I could also touch upon the use of celebrity, which Amitabh touched upon. How effective is it in this country? And do you believe that increases the engagement or loyalty of your customer to you, or does it not matter?
So I think there is some math which is needed or it should be working in your favor when you want to use celebrities. Primary, there is a cost to engage a celebrity, and then if you really don't push the right amount of money behind promoting that relationship, then somewhere the whole thing falls flat. And from our perspective, because we are a little more frugal as far as spends are concerned, uh, we have shied away from using celebrities. Having said that, I feel that India as a market is quite hungry with respect to following iconic figures, and it surely works if you do it in the right way. And I personally feel that what US Polo did as a campaign was just amazing. It was bang on. Very few campaigns I felt have been so correct, and so that aside, we rely mainly on our digital marketing activities. And one notable change that we've done over the last year was that we've kind of gone very regional in our communication. So even with respect to using influencers, we've actually gone down to picking up influencers for particular markets and talking to that market in probably a quasi English and that local language, or a mix of Hindi and that local language.
That's an important one.
So we've done. I can state two examples over here. Uh, Till yesterday, when we used to approach, say, a Raksha Bandhan kind of an event, it used to be just a post. But this time we kind of went a little ahead and we kind of created a whole interesting Rakhi, which had probably a little bit of edge, how probably we would see a denim brand do something like that. And the differentiator here was that we wanted that the the brother should be getting some gifts besides the sister, and we wanted to kind of make the brother also feel that as a brother I've always felt ke ye din mere kharche ka din hota hai, but wanted to reverse that in a way. So we created a very interesting hamper. More than that, we actually went into markets which we feel Raksha Bandhan was much more widely celebrated. So maybe the Hindi belt, Gujarat, Rajasthan, Maharashtra. So we concentrated everything that we had to do in these markets, got very local influencers over there, got them talking about their relationships with their brothers. We actually got the brother and the sister both in the same frame, and the banter, the fun that they had in early days was all that was brought out in front of the consumer through the influencers' conversations, and that kind of got us a very huge traction with our audiences, because it was tugging on a very emotional quotient for every person. Similarly, I think, again, for us, Western India is a much larger market. So we looked at Navratri, and just a post on Navratri kind of made way for 9 posts for 9 days. Wow. And if you all know that Navratri, all the days have some meaning with respect to the color for that particular day. And a lot of today's youth, in fact, even me for a long time didn't realize that there are these 9 colors which are supposed to be worn on 9 days, and each of them have a very significant meaning attached to it. So we went across and did a post, a reel for each day, where one Garba step was taught
for each of those things. I mean, it's an
for each
important,
day.
interesting point you
Yeah.
make there. I mean, while you talk of, and while social media has actually equalized aspirations across the country, at the same time, the importance of regional events and how people in each part of the country identify with specific, whether it's festivals, whether it's language, and I think how you're using that. I think
It
that's
cues in
a
with what
brilliant
Amitabh
point.
said, that it's got to be a little more emotional. It's more marketing.
And it's about
not
how you
transactional.
connect. And I think that's the important point. How you connect back at an individual level and how that emotional bond is created. I think that's what you're emphasizing and highlighting upon. Rahul, if I could come to you, and you've got, obviously your brand sells across both SIS and also you have your own EBOs. Anything specific you do at a store level and whether on digital to be able to engage with your customer?
Right. So,
And if I'm just conscious of time, so if I can just urge you
sure,
to.
sure,
Yeah.
sure. So, just one point I want to add is that in this age of technology, everyone just talks about AI and all these fancy words. But in every business, especially in our business, there's an art and there's a science. AI technology can only take care of the science. The art is still by human, right? So, like Amitabh said, that the emotional connect cannot be determined by a computer or an Excel sheet or an AI. It has to be determined by the individual who's doing it. And in today's world, we are very focused on technology and not enough on people skills. And that still is probably for me still the number one factor of success for any brand or company, where people are more important than technology.
So Harshit, respond to that. You talked about AI, and here's Rahul saying.
I mean, no
and-
conflict, no conflict.
So your business could be in trouble here. So
No
you're,
conflict.
you're talking about digital, you're talking about AI, and that's what we all hear every day.
My
AI
point is
going
everything
to be the
needs to
future.
work together.
So how would you respond to that?
No, that is pretty much fair. A tool is just a tool, unless and until the person who uses it properly. I'm not sure if you are aware of it. 12 hours back, OpenAI has launched a text to video new feature called Sora. And the biggest influencer in the world, which is Mr. Beast, has replied to that saying that you guys are taking away job from me, to Sam Altman. Sam Altman replied that if you want to make a next video, you ask me, I'll make the video for you. You don't have to spend money. So that is the kind of conversations that people are having. So what I'm trying to say is, in the end, it's just a tool. So the thinking is always yours. For example, coming to food industry, how it has influenced the food industry. Adopting technology, anything that is digital, food industry has never been the front runner. But if you see in terms of AI, considering the examples of stalwarts like Zomato, Swiggy, they are able to slowly try it out in multiple ways where they can help you out to select your items or restaurants much faster by slowly implementing AI without your knowledge itself. For example, we are in a very early stages of understanding as our own company, Ghost Kitchens. We are still trying in multiple ways, in multiple scenarios where it will work out. In one specific use case, we are able to make most out of it because we have so many growth levers that are there from the aggregator platform, because we are dependent on the aggregator for business. So there are so many growth levers that we have. We are able to optimally leverage them through AI and understand it better with minimal human intervention.
So effectively, AI helps you with data, helps you with pointing out where to go, but you still need the human touch to make that
absolutely
connect, you make the relation. So I think a lot of jobs are safe is what Harshendar is trying to say. Thank you. I mean, we're just very short on time, but I'll throw the floor open for any questions from the audience. Yeah, if we can have a mic there for the lady, please. If you could just identify yourself, and then if the questions addressed to someone in specific, just state the name as well. And please don't ask me any questions.
So I had two questions, one for Rahul and one for Sunil. So Rahul, you spoke about different products working in different parts of India, given we're a very different economy and the choices are pretty much different across regions. So from a brand perspective, how do you then manage the inventory?
You don't have a choice, to be honest. It's better to curate the product for that particular region. So I'll give you an example. In certain part of the country, the average height of the women is less than what is in the rest of the country. And we do a lot of dresses. And what we got a feedback was that every dress we would send there, the customer would have to get it altered, the length, which ended up losing sales for us. So we said, okay, let's make the same product. Let's just reduce the length by 2, 3, 4 centimeters and call it LQ Petite. So you have to be innovative for doing these kind of things. But like I said, things that work in Delhi do not work in Bombay, do not work in, 2 weeks ago in Delhi, it was freezing cold, right? And Bombay is warm as anything. So sitting in Delhi, if you're planning to have the same thought process as what a customer wants in Bombay, will not work. So you have to take these decisions. Inventory is a challenge, but overall, on the long run, it will be more beneficial.
Sorry, I forgot to identify myself. My name is Vidisha. And second to Sunil. So in case of jewelry, the overall sector, 5 years ago, we had incumbents who used to distinguish themselves in the name of brand, service, transparency, etc. But today, we've got a couple of regional players who are also catching up on all these aspects. So going forward, how would a jewelry brand differentiate or distinguish itself? Which on which parameters would it kind of sustain its leadership?
So first of all, I need to know who I'm replying to. You didn't identify yourself.
Vidisha.
Vidisha.
Yeah. Sanjay.
So basically, if I tell you the jewelry as a industry, historically has been those neighborhood or the family jewelers. That was the industry. I think we know who went into the organized player first. The Tatas went first, and then it started evolving. Came 2017, 18, and then the government brought in a lot of rules for the industry, for the economy, where the transparency started coming in, and that is where the organized player thought that this could be the right time for the organized players to be in the industry. If I tell you today's situation, this is about 35, 65. 65 is still unorganized players, and 35 have become organized or the corporate players. Those players who were, and as we know, the jewelry industry is the maximum contribution comes from the south. So the regional players who you are referring to are mainly from south, who used to operate out of south, and then they had their own growth, and when they saw the opportunities in other parts of the country, and that's where they became they are trying to become a national player. Along with that, you would have also seen recently, it doesn't stop only at from the family to organized players. They have also gone into the public domain now, where you will see in the last couple of months, for about a year now, a lot of people have gone for the IPOs, and that is where it is going to. If you take my opinion, I think slowly, ultimately, the business will go towards more towards the organized player. What you see, 35% can go 50, can go 60, can go 70, depending on how it evolves. That does not mean that the small or the family jewelers will no more exist. They will have their own play. Maybe many of those family jewelers will go become a regional players, and from regional players to the organized players. Of course, in addition to people like Reliance, we are there as corporate player. I hope I have answered the question.
Thanks, Sunil. We'll have time for just the one more question. Anybody? Yeah, sorry, go on. Can we get a mic across, please?
Hi, this is Manisha, and I'm from Tata Click. So I have a question for Amitabh. So there is this constant debate between digital marketing and brand marketing, and instant results are required. So even within a corporate, right? So also because there's so much of clutter, and even the consumers want the short-term results and add to cart. And the moment you leave the app, then again the consumer is distracted. So how do you internally strike a balance as a brand between long-term brand building and short-term performance marketing?
So that's a tough one, to be honest with you. But you have to understand what is the reason we're doing what. Long-term brand building is to stay salient. Now, for a brand who's 100 years old, you cannot assume just because I'm old as a brand, I'm going to be relevant to the consumer. So there's a point of relevance and salience. What I capture by building the brand is to build salience on the consumer. However, when I go to a Tata Click or to other platforms or a marketplace, I'm also fighting for the eyeball space or trying to get my product to be listed above the other. That's a different fight altogether. That's pretty much like going to a mall and saying, I want to take the outside big hoarding, which at one point served two requirements. One was brand building, and two was, I'm available here, come and shop me. Now, in the online space, unfortunately, that banner is not yielding brand equity. It's yielding a markdown, it's yielding a carrot to a consumer to consume more. So yes, of course, we will keep spending money on performance marketing, but the point I was earlier making is that the obsession of performance marketing cannot outweigh the importance of salience building. So as a brand manager or as a CEO of a company, you've got to constantly strive to put the right balance, that you cannot afford for your brand to slip from a leadership position. At the same time, you can't afford to let a marketplace which you have built, with great dexterity, to vanish. So it's a balancing act.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And can I take one more question? No. The lady here is very vigorously shaking her head. So you probably want to reach out individually. Thank you very much. You've been a great audience. Thanks for patiently listening. And Mayank, Amitabh, Rahul, Madhur,